We got a white supremacist hate group today, FBA family, that we're going to be talking about. And we got a lot to unpack on this one by the name of the Patriot Front, based out of Tennessee. And they building some kind of massive training compound now down there in Tennessee as we speak. And they using the term Patriot, to hide behind as a shield to display their anti-black views and their anti-black hatred on things. And for the most part, we as foundational Black Americans have been the only group of people that represented consistently what patriotism is supposed to be and supposed to look like without prejudice. And this appears to be some kind of strategic, organization training on hand-to-hand combat, you name it. But we as foundational Black Americans, we ain't moved by this because we like that old song that Bone Crusher put out. We ain't never scared, and if you run up on a real FBA brother or sister, you will find out quick, fast, and in a hurry. And I want you to ask yourself something, family. If they know about this organization, this degenerate white supremacist group, the Patriot Front, why the hell ain't these people being brought up on some kind of charges or something put on them? Why are they able to operate with impunity? Because they got to know about this organization. It made news media headlines. So why are they just able to, build that massive compound and operate with impunity? And I'll tell you why. It's because the system of racism, white supremacy looks out for and takes care of their own. In fact, they told job well done and giving a pat on the back for displaying their anti-black views on things. So I got the audio and the video of this nonsense, and we're going to walk through it and talk about it how we normally do, family. Fair use.
Tonight at 6, News Channel 5 investigates the neo-Nazis next door, a large hate group that our investigation discovered is expanding its presence right here in Tennessee. Good evening to you. I'm Carrie Sharp. That group, the so-called Patriot Front, is probably best known for plastering our communities with their hate-filled posters and graffiti. Now our investigation has uncovered new videos that reveal the group is also preparing for battle.
Preparing for battle, my ass. This is a cowardly and afraid group, you know what I mean? And I think, it'll go on to show it later in this video. I think what speaks to the sheer cowardness of this group is that, in their leadership, the higher ups in their organization, most of them had their faces covered. So this speaks to the sheer cowardness of these individuals in this group, because you got to be a cowardly individual at the end of the day to even practice white supremacy. They too afraid to stand on the word that's coming out of their mouth. They can't even stand on the word that they speaking. But let's continue.
Investigative reporter Phil Williams is continuing as hate comes to Main Street investigation. Phil, you have been working on this story for more than 3 months.
That's right. And during that time, we gathered never before seen video that shows what the Patriot Front is really up to. As you're about to see, that includes training men to fight right here in the volunteer state.
Right now, they've got an enemy. If they get rid of their enemies, they're going to have to find a new one.
Our investigation began last fall as anti-fascist activists protested an annual white supremacist gathering inside the lodge at Montgomery Bell State Park, about 40 miles west of Nashville. It was an investigation that would eventually lead us across the state to this large compound being built by a hate group right here in Tennessee. A compound where members train for battles that sometimes play out on the streets of America.
These are smart, observant, thoughtful Americans who see that our country is going.
The hell they are smart and thoughtful Americans, and it'll go on later to say who this individual was, because when I initially watched this video, I said, who the heck is this individual out here caping for this white supremacist group? And a light switch went off in my mind, because I knew this coward from somewhere, and a light switch went off in my mind. I'm like, this is the cowardice white supremacist, Jared Taylor. He had a debate with our good brother Tariq Nasheed, in which, he got his rear end handed to him in that debate, because he ain't nothing more than a cowardly white supremacist himself. So, of course, he would agree with this nonsense, because they all get on code with one another to practice anti-black racism, against black people. Well, practice white supremacy, against black people.
In the wrong direction and has been going in the wrong direction for decades.
Which may be why Jared Taylor, the founder of the American Renaissance Conference, insisted that we not take video of any faces while we were inside the conference.
And of course, they wouldn't want no video or no faces because, like I said, these cowards got their faces covered, just like the Klan years ago used to have their faces covered to get out there and do their dirty work and do their bidding. You know what I mean? White supremacy, it just shows you, case in point, that white supremacy is a cowardice system. You know what I mean? You got to be cowardly and afraid to even be a white supremacist because they only attack, truth be told, when they got the odds and the numbers in their favor. If it's a head up, a fair fight, the white supremacist is going to tuck his tail and run away like the cowardice individuals they are.
How about the neo-Nazis?
I don't even know a neo-Nazi.
That is absolutely false. Jared Taylor lied to you.
Jeff Tischhauser tracks hate for the Southern Poverty Law Center, and he knows a lot about the men we identified from outside the conference using facial.
And what we see an influx on, family, something I want to add to this is that, nowadays white supremacists, they use fake patriotism and the American flag as a shield to hide behind to, practice white supremacy and display their anti-black views on things and pump out anti-black rhetoric. But let's continue.
Recognition software, men like Thomas Rousseau.
Nationalism is natural. Patriotism is inevitable.
Rousseau, seen here during a demonstration in Nashville last summer, heads the Patriot Front, one of the largest organized hate groups in the country.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep reiterating. Now, they just said it out of their own mouth. It came out of the horse's mouth. They recognize as one of the largest hate groups in the country. So if they recognize as one of the largest white supremacist hate groups in the country, why the hell ain't some damn charges being put on these people, some Rico charges? Where the Rico charges at? They got no problem putting Rico charges on these black rappers, for just rapping lyrics 9 times out of 10 that they ain't even living. They just, rapping stuff to rap, and they put charges on them. And this is done because those black rappers ain't got the complexion for the protection in which these Patriot Front members do. They got the complexion for their protection. They got $1 gazillion worth of whiteness, and the system of racism, white supremacy looks out for and coddles and pampers its own. But let's continue.
Known for their flash mob protests that suddenly spring out of the backs of rental trucks, members wear white gaiters to hide their faces. Their flag-waving marches are designed to present an image.
Cowards, that speaks to the sheer cowardness of white supremacists. Look at them, all of their faces covered. They ain't, even got enough guts, and courage to stand on the rhetoric and the word that they out here spewing.
That also hides the hate behind their cause.
When you get within their private spaces online, members of Patriot Front worship Hitler, right? They deny the Holocaust. They use a tremendous amount of racial slurs between each other.
They're very clever, though. They wrap themselves in patriotism, Patriot Front.
So that's a
White supremacists now, a new gameplay that's in their handbook is where they use patriotism and the American flag as a shield, to hide behind to practice anti-black racism and white supremacy, family. We got to keep our eyes on that aspect as well.
A way for Patriot Front to appeal to the larger conservative movement.
We are Americans. We are not white Americans because there are no other kind of Americans than those who are white and from Europe.
At age 26,
my ass, there are no other Americans other than people that's white and from Europe. You guys, this is stolen land. It belongs to us. By right as foundational black Americans, because we were already here, in fact, this is why we call ourselves foundational, because we built the U.S., you white supremacists tried, and you guys didn't have no luck with that, it wasn't until you guys recruited that free slave labor that you guys got something going, so we was already here, and it's, our homeland is foundational black Americans, and we're the foundation. We built it, so you can miss me with that. That's a false narrative that white supremacists love to tell themselves that this is their land, you know what I mean, to remove us from the equation. But let's continue.
Thomas Rousseau is polished in his racism.
And like I always say, we're the only real true Americans as foundational black Americans if you really want to get down to the nitty-gritty of things.
Liberty, victory!
But leaked videos from inside Patriot Front revealed that beneath that polished veneer
Good take right there. See high, let's go.
are old-fashioned neo-Nazis.
These are hardened white supremacists who want to see a white ethno-state created somewhere in the United States.
You are not welcome here.
Outside the American Renaissance Conference, we had also
That look like FBA brothers and sisters standing on business, telling them that they ain't welcome there. The people of Tennessee giving them pushback and resistance. So salute to them on that.
Spotted these two men. Our search quickly came back with matches. Robert Benjamin Whitted of Texas and Garrett Joseph Garland of Illinois. Both were among 31 Patriot Front members arrested 3 years ago.
Look at these faces right here, family. You know, some of them look awful Latino-like, you know, to me. And this is why we with that FBA mindset know that there ain't no such thing as black and brown unity. That so-called black and brown unity was used to undermine and sell our people up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. But let's continue.
Accused of
Because I also forgot I wanted to reiterate, because a lot of these, you know, Latinos, not all, but a good bit of them, they, you know, soon as they can align themselves with racism, white supremacy in hopes of getting, you know, whatever they can get for themselves. You know, a lot of them even, you know, classify as white if you want to get down to the nitty gritty of things, you know. As soon as, you know, they can get in the pockets of white supremacy, you know, let me slide over and see how close proximity I can get to whiteness. You know what I mean? I'm white. You know, they want to classify as white because they want to be a part of that, you know. But let's continue.
Plotting to create a riot at an Idaho Pride celebration. Ryan Hunter was one of the prosecutors.
They wanted to basically promote a fight. They wanted to get people to respond, make them angry, make them attack them. And, you know, their history is that they then try to play that they're the victims.
Even announce. You can announce.
Amen. Sheriff's office, everyone have their hands visible.
This never-before-seen police video shows what happened when Coeur d'Alene, Idaho police intercepted two Patriot Front U-Hauls on their way to that Pride event. In the video, we see the men from that balcony, Robert Whitted and Garrett Garland.
I just wanted to bring this to the family's attention, you know, not to be in fear, but to be aware, because to be aware is to be alive, and we got to be aware, you know, of this nonsense that's going on in terms of anti-black racism, so we can be, you know, counteract that if, God forbid, you know, we would come up against that, you know what I mean? So when we encounter systematic white supremacy, we not caught like a deer between the headlights, not knowing what to do. You know what I mean? Because we see this on a, you know, an influx right now, this anti-black racism going on. You know what I mean? And crimes being committed against black people, and still no black hate crimes bill. You know, and it don't look like they trying to produce one, because we should have, truth be told, had a black hate crimes bill like yesterday. You know, but this patriotism front, you know, Patriot Front, you know, it ain't nothing more than a cowardly white supremacist group. And you got to be a coward in all actuality to practice white supremacy. But I'm solution based here on my platform, family. So, you know, when I encounter these kind of videos, you know, I like to put up something that, you know, changes the narrative and puts us in a power play, you know, a power perspective. So, you know, we can, you know, counteract some of this nonsense. So what I want to lay on the table is that, family, you know, start training, you know, start eating right, exercising, doing push-ups, doing weight training, you know, and you know, take some self-defense classes, start to get, you know, acclimated to self-defense, you know, for you and your family's protection, because people from the dominant white society, they train their kids up, you know, using hand guns at a young age, you know. In the same way, I think we should, you know, it ain't necessarily a bad thing for us to train, you know, our young up on, you know, having you know, marksman training, you know what I mean, pistol training, you know, just make sure that it's done in a regulated area under proper supervision, you know what I mean, to make sure that, you know, our young ones is knowing how to protect themselves, you know, when they encounter, you know, which sadly they will, you know, just keeping it real, anti-black racism, white supremacy, you know, we hope they don't, but in all actuality, it's running rampant now. So it's just better to stay ready, family, like the old saying goes, so you don't got to get ready. So start training your young ones up on, you know, self-defense, and you start training as well. Maybe y'all could train together as a family unit, you know what I mean? Because we got to counteract some of this nonsense in terms of anti-black racism that's going on. It's better to be aware, because to be aware is to be alive. And when you're aware of these things and you peep game, you ain't caught blindsided like a deer in the headlights when, unfortunately, it's a good chance that we can come up against some anti-black racism, some white supremacy. So it's just better to be aware, because to be aware is to be alive, and ain't nothing wrong with, you know, showing your kids, you know, in a regulated area, under proper supervision, how to use pistols, and train, in combat, hand-to-hand combat. You train in hand-to-hand combat. Start eating right, exercising, turning your body into a machine, because at the end of the day, the body is a temple, and you're going to get out what you put in. You know what I mean? And just stay ready, family, so you ain't got to get ready. Just my thoughts on the matter, but be aware, because to be aware is to be alive, and this patriotism front ain't nothing more than cowardly white supremacists, which we see all the time, because you got to be a coward to practice white supremacy. Peace.